So I have a family to introduce to you, although we only get to meet actively two. Story set in Israel, happens to be a family. The mother is a widow. She has several children, and she is about to make a wedding for her daughter. Uh, assets, financial assets, she did not have at the time of the engagement. She worked very, very hard to accumulate the money that she needed to contribute to make the wedding a possibility. And she was successful. For whatever reason, she kept the money, cash, in her home, hidden in her home. And just a few days before the wedding, a thief broke into her apartment 2 a.m. in the morning, apparently knew somehow, maybe talk of the neighborhood, knew that there would be cash in the house someplace, and began, I guess, as quietly as he could be, that began going through the uh, apartment, searching and searching for the money. He finds it. And as he is stuffing it into a bag that he can carry with him without being conspicuous, the youngest child in the family, guess he was a light sleeper. He woke up and 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 he's standing watching the thief. He sees what he's done, and with tears and a crying sound, he says, "Please, please don't take that money." And he explains to the thief that his mother, who's a widow, has been working so long to gather the money necessary for the wedding. If he steals the money, she won't be able to replace it. And the thief actually puts down the bag that he discovered. He puts it down on the floor, and he starts to walk out. And then he turns around and he takes several bills out of his pocket, eh, not small bills, and he gives the bills in his hand to the boy, and he says, "This is my contribution for the wedding." Can you believe that? Now, what I'm going to say applies only to this story. Don't rely on this in any other case, or hopefully won't have any cases, but use your discretion. Obviously, this was a Jewish thief, and he had his Pinta Yid, his neshama was talking to him, that as much as he wanted that money, he couldn't ignore the pain that it would cause that family. In our generation, unfortunately, you have muggers that will kill for a pair of sneakers, sometimes just for a quarter. It is a crazy world with the lack of respect and value of life. Maybe some people think they're playing video machines and can shoot at people, thinking they're not causing any damage. But we certainly need to use our discretion. But that little boy touched the heart of that thief, and he came across extra bonus potentially of what he added to the child. But it's amazing that he would back away from his fine and then give a gift on his own. Now, as amazing as that was, what took place sort of next in the story of importance was in the morning. The mother wakes up, obviously probably from all her hard working. She slept through this whole event. She sees the mess in the entranceway in the living room, and her 7-year-old son explains to her what happened and how he talked to the thief. Imagine what that made her feel like and how her heart must have jumped. And the next significant item is that she goes to ask a Shaila a question. Is she allowed to actually use the money? Again, it was no small sum. Is she allowed to use the money that the thief gave her son towards the wedding? As a general rule, the Shulchan Aruch records as normative law that if you know something is stolen, you're not supposed to buy it or accept it. If you know a person is a professional thief, you are not allowed to benefit from what he's done. So the mother asked Reb Silverstein, what what's the status of this nice sum of money that the thief left behind? So Rabbi Silverstein elaborated as follows: that number one, and I was careful to use the word like professional thief. The thief we're talking about is someone that he's known to us in some way. He might even be a resident of the neighborhood that maybe nobody's caught red handed. But he's known not to have any type of normative job, no legal job, and yet somehow gets his money with the word going about that he is a thief. Who knows? Maybe he brags sometimes about it. So if a person makes his livelihood stealing, then we should not be involved with his money. We should not be buying things from him. And there is actually a specific notation not to seek tzedakah from such a person, lest that person feels that he's buying off his sin by taking some of his stolen money and using it for a mitzvah. So Rabbi Silverstein said, though, if the person is not a professional thief, and it's possible that he has other sources of income, even though we're not sure exactly where the money is from, that because it's a rabbinic prohibition not to benefit from the thief, and on the Torah level it would be allowed, since it's a rabbinic prohibition, on the rabbinic level, a suffix, a doubt, we're allowed to be makel to take the lenient view. So if we don't know that this thief is a professional thief with all his assets being illegal, we would be allowed to assume that he has other assets and to take the money that he took out of his own pocket, even though we don't know that they weren't stolen, but it could be his own money, and allowed to keep it. In addition, Rev Silberstein said, there's a second factor that allows the family to keep the money, and that is, and again, I think I was trying to be accurate in the language that I used, the prohibition of taking tzedakah from a known thief is, number one, not to approach him and ask for the tzedakah, and number two, if he wants to give it, not to accept it. But the thief didn't give an option here. The thief took the money and left. And since he left the scene, Rav Solution Paskin between that and the first reason that we gave, of not knowing for sure, no one knew who he was, so we don't know that he's a professional thief and has no other sources of income. He could be working during the day and stealing at night. So anyway, the psak in this case was that he could use that the family could use the money towards the wedding. May we all be spared from such cases, and all be able to look forward to simchas and to security. I don't know. Coming from New York, I'm pretty aware of how cautious we may be. My wife's from a more quiet town, so she doesn't always confirm some of my precautions that I want to take. But we should all be cautious in many ways and all be blessed. Shavua tov to everybody. I will try to unmute you if